Stiles Watkins, Sactown Sports, joined by my guy, did some shows together back in the day, Larry Krueger. Larry, I was shouting you out earlier. Probably, I don't want to do too much here. Probably the biggest, if not top three at worst, Niners YouTube channels going right now. Just want to congratulate you and the work you've done, man. You are really doing it right now.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Good to see you're up there at Sactown Sports. I went to Sac State.
You go.
I've done many a show on 1140 there. I did a weekend show with the great Chris Townsend back in 2006, the Krueg and Towney show up there, and a lot of my fraternity brothers are still hanging out in Sac, and I love Sacramento, man. So I was thrilled when I saw the news that you're joining Whitey up there and doing your thing, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Stingers up, right? Stingers up. That's how it goes. There you go, Larry. So, the vibes are good right now. The question is, are the vibes going to continue to be good, specifically for the Niners this weekend when they head to Jacksonville? I know the Niners, that fan base travels amazing. I saw the ticket percentages. It's always good for the red and gold. But do you think the fans down in Jacksonville will be celebrating a victory? How confident are you in the Niners?
Well, wow. I think it's going to be a tough game. I really do. I think it's going to be a very, very tough game. Lawrence has got it going right now. Now, we know he's got a ton of speed on his offense and he's got a big arm, but their O-line's no good. So Peterson's throwing it to Evan Engram repeatedly, and the Niners have to figure out a way to take away all those short pitch and catch throws from Trevor Lawrence to Evan Engram, who was a bust with the New York Giants, but now in Jacksonville, I mean, he caught 10 balls last game against the Steelers, and the guy's a real force, and he's their continuity piece, Alan. He's the guy that they try to move the chains with. So the Niners have to stop the run, and they got to stop Evan Engram.
Larry, appreciate you coming on. I was looking at the Eagles' schedule the other day. They obviously have a bye this week. They played the Cowboys last week, but the Eagles' upcoming schedule is just brutal. They play the Chiefs, then the Bills, then they have that Niners game, and then play the Cowboys again, followed by the Seahawks as well. I mean, how are you feeling about the Niners' chances right now of still finishing off the year with the best record in the NFC? Of course, the Lions are still lingering as well.
It's like almost like I don't even want to think about that because the 49ers just have to get a win, right? They haven't won in a while. And they haven't even led in any of these games for the most part. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's viable. I think Detroit is still up there for that top seed as well. I know that sounds crazy, but they've got kind of an easier schedule. But man, I mean, I'll tell you the game that's really looming for the Niners as a big game beyond Philly is Christmas night against Lamar and the Ravens. Mm-hmm. That's the number one rushing attack in the game right now, and the Niners aren't stopping the run. So that I almost have that one down as a loss right now. So, I mean, it's 49ers just have to regroup. They gotta get this win against Jacksonville. You could argue that the wrong team's favored. I mean, the Niners haven't won in a month, basically. Right. Jacksonville hasn't lost in 5 weeks. They get the longest streak going, and they haven't trailed in any of those games. So I'm a little, Vegas always knows, so that makes me feel good. But I think this is going to be tough. I think it's going to be a challenge for Trent Williams, who's going to be a game-time decision now at left tackle. We found out that today at practice. And Colton McKivitz going up against Trayvon Walker against McKivitz and Josh Allen against Trent, or if not Trent, Jalen Moore. I mean, that's going to be an absolute, battle royale. Can the Niners block this Jaguar line?
Talking to Larry Krueger here, host of the Krueg Show on YouTube, the biggest Niners YouTube channel. Larry, again, thank you for joining us. And Larry, you know how this goes. You've been in the game for so long. You knew we weren't going to let you get out of here or get too far without talking about Brock Purdy. How do you assess Brock Purdy, and have people been overblowing his mistakes? What would you say you'd like to see from Brock Purdy moving forward?
He's got to be more patient. I mean, the 49ers, I think they need to start playing in this game against Jacksonville complementary football. And it really plays into Kyle and Brock need the same message, which Brock needs to be patient. Kyle needs to be patient. They need to go on long, extended drives, start to play complementary football, and start to protect their defense a little bit. I talked to Kasarik in July. I said, Chris, you going to play Bosa and your number one D-line a bunch this year? You're loaded up front. You don't have quite the same depth. He's like, no, I'm going to play these guys in a rotation. And he's like, and he made the point. He's like, I can't play Bosa 65 to 70 snaps a week and have him be fresh in January.
Right.
Well, he played 68 snaps against Cincinnati. He's played 60 plus snaps the last 3 games. So that's why Chase Young's here. That's why Randy Gregory's here. They got to play complementary football and try to dominate the time of possession against Jacksonville. Try to save and preserve Bosa as much as possible.
Larry, it feels like the biggest talking point this week has been Steve Wilks moving down to the sideline from the booth. Do you feel like it's as big of a deal as what everyone's making it? I mean, it seems like Steve Wilks is kind of trying to douse any smoke that this is a big deal or not, but it kind of feels like this is a big deal. How do you feel?
I think it's a total non-story. I mean, is Steve Wilks going to make the coverage tighter? Is Steve Wilks where he sits going to make D linemen come off blocks? Is Steve Wilks going to, now that he's on the sideline, now the Niner linebackers are not going to miss tackles? I mean, it's a player's game. The players have to play. They look a little gassed. They looked a little tired. They looked a little run down. Greenlaw told me yesterday that he had a shot in the ankle and the shoulder before the Cincy game, and then it just didn't take effect. He basically shouldn't have even been out there. He feels more refreshed coming out of the bye week. They just, their D-line's got to come off blocks and make tackles. Their linebackers, have to wrap up, and they got to get something in the run game out of Afonga and Gibson. Those guys have just been totally zero against the run. And, a couple of years ago, they had Tart and Ward, and they didn't get any interceptions. But those guys were like extra linebackers.
Right.
This year, Gibson and Gibson's biggest tackle was that penalty against him. And Fonga, who how many times we're going to see a Fonga make the T? But I got to see some tackles. The T starts, tackles.
Right.
Tackles.
Right. Yeah. Gotta see it, Larry. And Larry, we did some shows together, and both of us are baseball guys. So let's switch over here and talk a little bit of Giants. Bob Melvin, honestly, Larry, when I saw it, I don't know how moved I was, but everybody knows that they were going to move on from Gabe Kapler, who me and you have had some very, very frisky conversations about Gabe Kapler. We'll save that for the next time you come on. How did you feel when they announced Bob Melvin as a new manager for the Giants?
Well, I mean, he's solid. I mean, I was kind of hoping they would go with like either Veritek or Vogt as the young catcher, because we've seen catchers have a great run. Of course, Melvin's a former catcher too. Right. But one thing I like about Melvin is that he's got enough like history in the game to be able to say to Farhan, okay, I saw your analytics, I digested it, and I decided to go in this direction for this reason.
Yeah.
Where I kind of felt like Gabe was just going to literally I took Farhan's analytics and I implemented them in the game, and I didn't have that experience to push back. I think Bob has the experience to push back. The other thing I really like about Melvin is if you study him, Alan, and look around like where he's been, everywhere he's been, he gets off to a good first year. I mean, he had a good first year in Oakland. He had a good first year in Arizona. He had a good first year in San Diego. So I think that the Giants need a turnaround, man. I mean, they were 17th in attendance last year. They've lost a ton of their audience. Farhan needs a big off season. They need to go sign some people or trade for some people that actually the fans have heard of. And they're going to have to get off to a hot start and show that they're a new and improved Giant team. Otherwise, guess what? People are just they're going to watch it on TV. They're going to go to Warrior games. They're going to wait for the Niners season, and they're not going to go. Nobody's running to get to downtown San Francisco for no reason. You have to motivate them to park their car, risk it getting broken into, stepping over homeless and needles and everything else to get to these games. So you know what? You better have a good product. And so the Giants better wake up and put together a compelling team, or people are just going to be like, I'll catch it on the tube.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about bringing people in for the Giants. I saw a rumor yesterday that Pete Alonso, apparently the Giants are in on, and Juan Soto, and of course the Shohei courting, and even Mike Trout. I've seen the Giants have their name thrown in there. What do you think if you're Farhan, or if you're building out this team? Is it just is it a big name that's the first thing that needs to be checked off, or what do you feel like is the next move for this Giants team in terms of player acquisition?
It's a great question, and it's like I think Alonso and Soto would be my main targets. Why? Mm-hmm. Because from what I'm reading, guys, Bellinger is going to want a 12-year deal. He's 28. So Bellinger had a good year this year. He hit over 300 with the Cubs, but he had 2 nightmarish years the years before, and supposedly he's got shoulder issues, and now you're going to give him a 12-year contract through his 40th birthday? No. I mean, that seems like a major risk. And then Shohei, you're going to have to pay $600 million to, not knowing if he's even going to pitch. So now you're paying $600 million for a DH. I mean, he would put butts in the seats. I'll say this: just from watching the Japanese baseball film on Yamamoto, to me, he looks like Lincecum. I mean, he's a small guy with big stuff.
Right.
And I think there's a very good chance that Yamamoto is going to be like the talk of the game. But I was joking with some people the other day. The Giants talk big names, and then here's Michael Conforto, So I was joking the other day on Twitter. It's like, okay, we want Shohei Ohtani. We want Juan Soto. We want Pete Alonso. Let's put it into the giant Farhan computer.
Right.
What does it spit out? Trent Grisham.
Yep. Yeah.
If you ask me to make a prediction, and I already did this on Twitter, so I'm just kind of repeating my tweet, but I think Trent Grisham is going to be the guy they go after, because Farhan's talking defense in the outfield. Harrison Bader, they're saying, is going to get like 2 years, $20 million. I think that'll be too rich for their blood. Yeah. I think Kiermaier's defense has gone down. So there aren't a lot of options, and they're going to look at San Diego and go, oh, Bob, you manage Grisham, and he won 2 Gold Gloves there. And he hit like 198 this year. But I could see the Giants trading Elliot Ramos and Keaton Wynn, or, some 2 young players that have potential to the Padres for Trent Grisham, and all the yes men that are surround this Giant team as far as their media will just be like, hey, that was, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm just fired up about Trent Grisham. So,
oh man,
I wait a second. Boop, 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 boop. I Trent Grisham to the Giants, guys. That's what I see.
Well, and I saw Larry. I even saw maybe a Tommy Pham who's kind of had a. No, because he played well, right? I know the whole Jock Peterson thing, but
keep him out of your fantasy league. That's all you got to do.
Right. Just stay away from that. Larry, great stuff as always. I know you've been on 1140 before, but now you are a friend of Stiles and Watkins, and we will definitely have you on again, Larry. Please enjoy the game. Hopefully you're enjoying a Niners W. And Larry, I know you're in the Bay, but look, just for me, just for your guy, can I get a light the beam? Can I get that from you before you go?
Oh, I love the beam. Are you kidding me?
There you go.
Whoever, my brother's a judge up in Sac. He lives in Natomas. All my buddies from Sac State, for the most part, are still up there. I'm hearing great things about your guys' show, so keep kicking butt. And light the beam, baby. Light that beam.
Thank you, Larry Krueger. Please follow Larry. Subscribe to his YouTube. Great stuff. Probably the biggest Niners YouTube going right now. YouTube channel, The Krueg Show. Thank you, Larry. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, fellas. Have a good one.